I think this is the second story that I've ever read in which Wolverine is tolerable for me. Not likable, tolerable. Storm's still queen, though. Just saying. Today's installment of Readus Reviews is brought to you by Comic Bento, the graphic novel subscription box service that sends 4 graphic novels every month to your door from various publishing companies, of which each of their boxes have particular themes. So if you want to try out their subscription box for the month of June, which is themed Fan Power, then go to the description box underneath this video and click on the link provided. The box for May, however, was themed Rewriting History. And after letting you readers know what came in that box, you voted in a poll on my Twitter account that you wanted me to review X-Men: Days of Future Past. Now, I know I usually start off these reviews with like a small summary of the story, but I figure with this specific story, I'll go on and address the elephant in the room right quick before I do. And that elephant in the room is this: the comic book storyline for X-Men: Days of Future Past. Was so much better than the fucking movie. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Okay, now that I got that out of my system, let's start the review. So the book starts off after the Dark Phoenix saga with Jean Grey's funeral. And as she's being buried, Scott Summers gives a summary from the beginning of the X-Men comic up until the point of her burial, in which he takes a hiatus and Storm is now in charge of the X-Men. And it's with his departure that a new student arrives at Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, named Kitty Pryde. We're then introduced to her a bit, her power set, which we of course all know. We get some cool one-shot arcs that not only fleshes out her character for us, but also provides character development for Nightcrawler, Wolverine, and Colossus as well. In which case, we finally get to the Days of Future Past storyline, in which case we find out that in fictional Marvel Universe 2013, shit's a bit fucked up. Sentinels are everywhere, mutants are captive, people who have the possibility of offspringing mutants aren't allowed to breed, and as long as the Sentinels are actually thinking about leaving American soil, the world might go into a nuclear fallout for. And the cause of this just so happened to take place in 1980, when Senator Kelly was assassinated by the Brotherhood of Mutants along with Charles Xavier. So with the help of the mutants that are still alive, along with a very strong telepathic mutant that can send present-day consciousness back in time, Kitty Pryde volunteers as tribute to go back in time in 1980 to warn the then current team of X-Men about what's going on, to stop the assassination and change the future. Yes, you heard me correctly, readers. Not Bishop, not Wolverine, Kitty Pryde. A decision that happened in this story that already makes so much more sense than Kitty Pryde having the powers to actually send the consciousnesses back in time. So already this story is better because it makes fucking sense. I also like this story for other reasons. Some of them, like I said before. We get a fleshed out Kitty Pryde who's not known as Shadowcat, but instead Sprite, which I didn't know until I read the comic book. They even make a small little soda joke when they suggest that to be her X-Men name, which I thought that was pretty cool. Now I think about just about every member of that team of X-Men had very good character development, other than Angel. Storm got it, Wolverine got it, Nightcrawler got it, which is kind of sad because I felt that Angel was kind of the weak link over the course of this trade. But yes, readers, I really enjoyed the Days of Future Past story. The 2 issues of this Days of Future Past story. Honestly, I think that would have to be my only nitpick of this book. The first issue was the entire history of the X-Men comic book series up until the Dark Phoenix saga, which I did appreciate. The next issue was an annual, and it basically focused on Nightcrawler's development, with a hint of Storm in there as well. Also, it had Doctor Strange in it, so I had to read it. Then the next arc was a 2-parter that mainly focused on Wolverine's development. revisiting a storyline that introduced his character in the Incredible Hulk comic books regarding the Wendigo, which readers you'd be interested in knowing I kinda enjoyed, and it helped me dislike his character less? But that's mainly a personal thing because I don't necessarily care for Wolverine as a character. Because in certain stories that I've read with him in it, not only does he admit that he lets his temper get the best of him, but he does nothing to fix it. And it always gets the team in trouble because of it, especially when he's leading the team. Which is why I'm glad in the Days of Future Past arc that Aurora Monroe was leading the X-Men to put that motherfucker in check! Oh, and readers, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. You know what this book had? Because it partakes in a broader universe of different characters outside of X-Men. You know what it had? Asterisks. It had asterisks. It had motherfucking asterisks. All in all, I really enjoyed this trade collection. Because this is the first time I've ever read this arc or this series of comics, I was not aware that it was only 2 issues long and that everything else was extra that led into it. But I'm glad I decided to read those stories because it provided development for characters I both liked and disliked and helped me understand those characters that I disliked a bit more. But I do have to say to anybody who is thinking about picking up this trade to do consider the fact that the actual Days of Future Past arc is only 2 issues long. So with that, I'd have to say that the $19.99 retail price for this book, depending on how big of an X-Men fan you are, may or may not be worth it. If you are a big X-Men fan, then I would totally recommend paying the $19.99 price for it. If you're not, and you just want to read a certain story that was the inspiration for the movie, or just to get more lore and character development under your belt, then if you're going to buy it at a bookstore or at your local comic book shop, then try and probably wait for it to go on sale. But readers, your homework assignment for the day. Write in the comment section below whether or not you've read the actual comic book arc for X-Men Days of Future Past. Or if you haven't, write in the comment section below your favorite X-Men arc. And remember, if you want to take part in next month's Comic Bento edition of Readus Reviews, go to my Twitter at READUS_101 and look out for the monthly poll. Anyway, this is Readus 101. Class dismissed.